We're gonna make sure you have a good one.
Yeah, I gotta talk real loud.
The meeting of the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors has now come to order. Mr. Bowen, will you give us, wait, I'm gonna change tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Mr.
not.
Hill, will you give us the invocation, please?
Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have come to carry on the business of this county
Yes, Father.
and the democratic society. We thank you for the ones who are elected here, give us guidance and wisdom. Pray that you give us our shortcomings, give us knowledge and wisdom to overcome the problems we have on a day-to-day basis. Bless all the citizens of this county. Bless the refugees who are here from Afghanistan. We pray that they may find peace here in the United States. And all these things we ask in your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Let's stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now need the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would ask that you add one item to the list of closed session items. That would be 2.2, 3711A7, consult with legal counsel regarding probable litigation in public records in record retention.
All right.
Excuse me. That's already been included in the,
Closed session.
it is not, I apologize. Thank you. Yes, we also have the matter of an additional closed session item of, find here, 22.3711A7, also consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation now pending relating to a recent zoning determination.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda with the aforementioned amendments.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the necessary, what were the two, John?
Zoning
Zoning
and legal.
and legal consultation. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Yeah, now I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 26, 2021.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we receive and adopt the minutes. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. We'll now have delegations from the public. We'll start with Mrs. Wilkins Mitchell, Donna, I believe.
Thank you so much for letting me come this evening and speak with you. I'm actually here to talk about Sunday voting. Specifically, I need to take you back. I'm the person who contacted the State Board of Elections because of the illicit behavior happening during the electoral board meeting. I was there when they had a meeting that they weren't supposed to have and then tried to pass different things, and none of it was allowed. And consequently, they were sanctioned by the State Board of Elections. The Commissioner of Elections came down on them pretty hard, not just verbally, but in writing, as well as enforcing training. Unfortunately, things continue to spiral out of control, despite many changes that have happened from board members. So when you go back to February, which is when the budget was supposed to be approved, elections officers were supposed to be selected, none of those things happened. Instead, they chose to do a little switcheroo instead of using best practices, and the new person became the chair without any experience, and consequently, nothing happened like it was supposed to. So we go forward to July when it's approved. Sunday voting is a possibility. Here's the thing. I am all for an opportunity to vote, any opportunity to vote. The bottom line is we don't have enough time to train, and the elections officers we have are not enough because we didn't get them in February when we should have. So you're facing all these other things. Forget funding. Forget coming to you and get their hand out and the electoral board saying, hey, we really want to do this. Well, that's great, but you didn't put anything in place to do it correctly. And because of that, we can't do it. If we do it, it's going to be a cluster you-know-what. Pardon my French. I didn't say it, but you know what I meant. It's best practices. This is common sense. If you don't prepare, then you can't produce a good product. Do we really want to be just yet another little comment about our ineptness when it comes to the voting process? There's been enough of that. In the news, people accusing things have been said over the last 2 years that I don't want to repeat. You talked about in an open forum on Facebook about loving thy neighbor. Well, you can't when you suspect too many different things. So just cut it off and force them, if you would, to table this till February when we go back over the budget. That's what the Electoral Board chose to do initially. In a meeting in July, they said, hey, let's do that because we're not prepared. And then Mr. Cruz showed up and said, oh, I have a grant that's going to pay for everything. Only nobody read the grant. The grant is not a grant that will pay for everything. The grant is a reimbursement grant. And it's if you are opening up a new poll place that you get funded for everything. Otherwise, it's just the 4 hours that it would take to have somebody do that one day. So consequently, the grant that's going to pay for everything doesn't pay for that much. And you still have a problem with elections officers. It's not a partisan issue. It's not. Despite the attempts to make it a partisan issue, it's not a partisan issue. It's a competency issue. It was a new board. They made lots of mistakes. They were sanctioned by the state of Virginia, by the Commissioner of Elections, Christopher Piper, who is a Democrat. So it's not a partisan issue. You see where I'm going with this? It's a common sense issue. If you don't prepare and you don't put forward the correct work that it takes to process an election, then you can't very well add new things in because you haven't prepared for the first part of it. There's not enough elections officers. The ones that you do have do not want to work straight through. Think about it. Saturdays, Sundays, all through the week, early voting, 45 days of early voting? That's a lot. That's a lot. I own a restaurant. I work all the time, and I don't ask my people to work those kind of hours. That's craziness. Forget the funding. It's moot at this point. They're not prepared to produce a competent election adding in Sunday. It's just not possible. Furthermore, I really need you to consider forcing or enforcing the idea that we have the electoral board meetings in an area that can be viewed via YouTube or taped in a session, because there's a lot of he said, she said, and that's kind of a problem. I couldn't be here for 2 meetings because I was out of town on a family emergency. I would have happily spoken to you and given you information. I actually have video and documentation that was provided to the State Board of Elections, and I promise you it's very thorough.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
your time is up.
I know.
5 minutes.
Look at that timer. Thank you all so much. I appreciate
Good
it.
to
Thank
see you
you.
too. Miss Anita, is that Bell?
Anita Bath.
Beth? Okay, Mr. Abbott? Am I pronouncing that right?
Anita, I have bath.
That sounds like a joke, Sherman. I need a bath? Is that
I
what you
need a
said?
bath. That's what it said.
Steve, what are you saying? It's a Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson thing?
If you don't start my time right away, sir,
saw
I'll be
you
more than
up at
happy to tell you that I do not need one.
Right on the spot.
Members of the board, Mr. Costa. Please know that I feel this board's failure to respond to citizens' questions is suspect. Is it possible that the board doesn't believe citizens should be answered? So if questions are ignored, they'll go away. Trust that I'll keep trying until one of you chooses to respond. I have a copy of the contract that was signed by Mr. Rourke on October 12th of last year to hire Sands Anderson's law firm. He knew at the time that Preston Williams was still the county attorney. I requested through FOIA copies of the invoices from Sands Anderson's from October of 2020 through June 30 of 21. I handed out the response to my FOIA request for a list of what citizens requested through FOIA from 9/1/2020 through 10/3 of 2020. You should all have that copy. I appreciate that Mr. Rourke helped with that. We all know that under normal circumstances, FOIA requests must be answered within 5 business days, or with an extension, a total of 12 business days. Now please, look at the document I presented. Can you tell me if there are any that would cause the former county administrator to meet with council for 3.1 hours? The county was billed on an invoice dated 12/11/2020 for $2,275. There were 4 line items on that invoice. The first was dated October 2nd, 2020 for $1,007.50. Reason given, FOIA consultation. Again, which of these could possibly require over 3 hours of legal assistance, or were there other reasons, and this was used to cover or hide the real reasons for the length of time involved? Was the former county administrator authorized to engage a vendor without board approval for the reasons listed on the invoice for October 2nd? Again, I'd like to know why Mr. Rourke hired this law firm, and secondly, why he engaged this firm prior to the initial starting of the October 12th agreement. Now, as I head to my seat and wait for responses, I'm confident this board knows that Mr. Alan Gerhardt, the executive director of the FOIA Advisory Council, teaches and advises FOIA for free. Free now. And this could reduce the county's legal fees, since free costs so much less than being charged what we are. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask him for a point of clarification?
Certainly.
Just for the record, when you state Mr. Rourke, who are you referring to?
Oh, the former county administrator, not you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Yates?
I decided to wait till next month after all.
She decided to wait till next month after all.
Delegations from the public is now closed. We don't have a public hearing. No presentations. Okay, departmental reports. Transportation.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Bryant sent me an email this afternoon. She's dealing with a bad knee and was unable to attend. She did want me to report to you that mowing for this cycle along all the primary and secondary roads has been completed, and that she is still awaiting some additional information concerning removing the crossover within the hybrid roundabout at 723 and 460. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those back to her. But that's her report.
Any questions?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, the others are in your package. The building inspection report, the planning commission. Mr. Bowen, do you have anything from the planning commission?
No, we actually having our meeting this Tuesday, right? Yeah, I think it's right. So our regular clock has kind of got mixed up here because of the change in the board meeting. But we'll get back on target, and I'll have a report next month.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, animal control. That report is in the health department report. Okay, constitutional officers. I see Mrs. Brown. Sheriff?
Good evening.
Good
Evening, sir.
Good evening.
How y'all doing?
Doing good.
I just got a few brief words to say. And everybody know what the elephant in the room is. Gonna be out for a ticket. These are some interesting times we're living in. Through the COVID issues of the past 2 years, the ice storms, the divisive politics, a host of other issues affecting our country and our county, we've survived it all. We're here. But now we got Operation Allied Welcome in our backyard. The Joint Task Force has initially managed to contain the subjects on the base pretty well. I talked to them the other day in a meeting, and they've done a good job. I mean, out of 19 days we've been here now, we've only had one incident involving outside law enforcement. I think they're doing a great job. They're bringing in the resources needed to get it done. And there's been one or two things I've told them we need. They brought them. They got them in, or they were working to get them in. So they're doing a real good job. Virginia State Police is the primary entity being notified of anything. They get the first call. Only time my officers have been out there basically to back them up. Again, they got the resources on the ground. We've only had 11 911 calls as of last Tuesday. That's when the meeting was. And then we had the stolen vehicle. That's the only one that's been, like I said, involving outside LE or us. I was told during that meeting there were 5,907 Afghans on post at that time. And in the next couple of days, it's supposed to swell to 10,802. And again, like I said, they're bringing in the resources. The federal government, they have resources you would not imagine. And I'm finding that out as I go out there. The rehoming and movement off base has been hampered. Initially, we were told it was going to be, 3 to 10 days? Well, that ain't working out due to COVID issues, and plus all the shots they have to have, plus get all the paperwork to be rehomed. So that's making it a slow process. One thing to take into consideration, there's a whole lot of cultural differences. A whole lot of cultural differences. These people are coming in, they're snatched out of their world 48 hours before they got here. They were doing what they do. So of course, when they come here, they're doing what they do. And the federal government is bringing in resources, a lot of them to combat that. They have on standby psychologists. I mean, they have it all out there. And it's a small city. It's going to be a small city. More people in Blackstone. It is a fact that when that many people are together, there's going to be a bad actor or two. There's no way around it when you get that many people together. I mean, 12 college kids go out, one of them going to do something stupid.
That's right.
And again, Joint Task Force and Department of Homeland Security are working to get those resources in place. They're getting them in place. I feel that the situation is contained pretty well. There does not appear to be a public safety issue at this point, but I will be the first one to tell you if it is, because I'll be the first one getting to them saying, hey, y'all got to do something. And if anything changes to that, like I said, I will be the first one to get in the middle of that. Because this is Nottaway County, and this is my home too. But again, they've got it, at this time, under control. All right, that's my comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Sheriff
Jones. Thank you for the
Jones.
update.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I comment to the sheriff?
Yes.
Sheriff, first of all, I want you to know that your confidence is got to be a calming to the citizens here. And it is much appreciated, and I know we spent some time yesterday in some conversations with some concerns, and you and your team are doing a phenomenal job. And I thank you, and thank you for reassuring the citizens that y'all are on top of it if you're needed.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Walters.
Good evening. Again, elephant in the room, I know Sheriff just spoke about it. Thought the board would be interested in knowing about the impact and potential impact to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office of having the refugees there out at Pickett. Fort Pickett is unique as compared to many of the other locations that the Afghanistan refugees are currently housed or located, as it's not solely a federal installation like many of the other places where we have heard that the refugees have been sent. State police troopers have patrolled, responded to, investigated incidents out at Fort Pickett for years. The Commonwealth Attorney's Office has prosecuted the crimes that troopers have charged for years. In my conversations with federal authorities over the past week, I've been advised that they have reviewed numerous past land transfers and permits, and they've concluded that there is concurrent state and federal jurisdiction on the areas of Fort Pickett that are being used to house the refugees. Given my role prosecuting crimes that occur here in Nottaway County, I wanted to ensure that we had open lines of communication regarding any crimes that may occur at Fort Pickett during this operation. I've been in contact with several individuals at both the federal level and at Fort Pickett. Earlier this week, I attended the same meeting that Sheriff's talking about out at Fort Pickett, focused on law enforcement, investigation, and prosecution. That meeting included representatives from the Virginia State Police, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, my office, our Sheriff's Office, and several other agencies. The federal, state, and local agencies there are all collaborating on law enforcement and security. There is a focus on trying to limit the impact to local resources wherever possible. Obviously, there is going to be an impact, and we've seen some of that. Law enforcement and security that are involved on the ground at Pickett include military police that are detailed to Pickett for the operation, as well as the assignment of some additional members of Virginia State Police. At this time, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office has one case stemming from the operation. It is certainly my hope that we will not see a large increase in crimes or cases. If, however, my office begins to become overwhelmed with additional cases, I now have contacts for agencies who may be able to provide some additional assistance. As the board knows, my office, when fully staffed, has 3 attorneys. We've had 2 all year, or for most of the year. So I'm certainly hoping that we don't see a large increase in cases, already being a little bit short-staffed. So I just wanted to update the board on that and what you might be seeing. Hopefully not, but how that's all going to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, unfinished business. Ted.
All right, unfinished business. The first item, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, is the consideration of the Sunday voting grant. You have about a 2-page memo from me that reviews this item. And it, let's just say it's fluid. We've had different numbers come before us. The grant was submitted for a total of $627.87, and it was approved for that same amount. That was a substantially different figure than what you were presented with, of $43,316. Between the night of your action to apply for the grant and by Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, various communications revealed that several of the items were not eligible under the grant, so it was reduced all the way down to that amount. Since the board had authorized the grant to be sought for a much greater amount, I encourage that the grant go forward and that the application be made. And again, it was a successful grant. So you have before you tonight the issue, and the only issue, as I view it, is whether or not you want to accept the grant. I believe that the issue of Sunday voting has already been decided by the electoral board. So you have before you the issue of whether or not you want to accept or deny the grant. And I will tell you that one of the things that I am trying to get my arms wrapped around in the last less than a month is grants management. What we have, where we have it, who's applied, what's been accepted. It's let's just say it's a challenge. But I'm trying to keep it simple. The issue before you this evening is, do you accept the grant or not? I'd be happy to take any questions you all have.
I have some questions. In our package is your memo about the grant, then the grant application, in the
Yes.
amount of $627.87. But then we have a budget adjustment of $42,688.13. What does that represent?
That is if you were chose to take the second alternative motion, which staff does not support. That second alternative motion is at the top of the third page.
Yes.
That reads, you would move to accept for the full amount that was initially requested. Staff does not support that motion for the reason that this is a fairly substantial chunk of change that should be taken up, as one of the speakers said earlier, during the budget process that will be started in a couple of months.
So just, you and I spoke earlier, but just for public record, it is not this board that approves Sunday voting. That's the board.
It was the electoral.
Board.
It's not our call.
And the electoral board actually applied for the grant.
Right.
That's correct.
But we're being asked to approve the grant or
Accept the grant.
accept the grant.
Accept the grant.
Okay.
As it was presented for the 627.87.
And the grant
Or
is-
not, that's y'all's choice.
The grant is for 627.87. That's
Correct.
all.
Right.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think those figures have changed a little bit. And I believe if it's appropriate and allowable, the secretary is here. If we could ask those questions of him to confirm those figures, because the grant, as I understand it, is amendable to additional costs that are covered. Is that correct, Mr. Costin?
It's my understanding that any grant is amendable. There have been, in my experience, there have been grants that were cost estimates dropped or they went up, and grants had to be amended.
And so
The
since
first question is to whether or not you have a grant, and until you accept the grant, you don't have the grant.
Okay. All right. So would that be acceptable if we could ask Mr. Page these couple of questions here for clarification?
Could you come forward, Ms. Page? Is there anyone else here from the electoral board?
I don't.
Happy to answer any question I can. I just can't make any decisions for the board.
Right, I understand. And I actually wrote down some questions here, so I'm a check into these. And, you know, speaking to the grant, I don't think, just for clarification, I don't think that the electoral board voted to approve a full-time staff member, that they only voted to pass Sunday voting. So, Mr. Page, you're the secretary of the electoral board. Did you guys at any time vote to approve the hiring of a full-time staff member?
Technically, no, we did not. It's not passed by a vote. They only voted on Sunday voting.
Okay. And the reason why I asked this question is because, just for clarification, now, please interject if I'm wrong. If the electoral board votes to put in a additional full-time position, then the county is required and mandated to pay that position.
The electoral board votes for a full-time staff member, then the county is required to pay for that position if we have a population over 15,500. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, now, are we required to pay for one without electoral board approval?
You are not, but the electoral board could go ahead and have a meeting, vote to approve it, and then come right back here.
Right, but currently that's not what's in front of, okay.
Technically, no.
All right. Now, why was it included in the cost?
The registrar had told the electoral board during the discussion for Sunday voting, whether to pass it or not, that she would need a full-time staff member in order to complete the task of having Sunday voting, just due to her staffing amounts. And I think everybody was in consensus that she would need it. But we have to go off of she's our registrar, so we have to take her word for it. So when I sat down with the numbers with the registrar, we had to create this budget in a matter of hours. It was past Wednesday, and we had to see you guys Thursday. And I think I was speaking to Mr. Costin by noon, trying to get him some numbers. So based off the registrar's experience of what it would cost, we tried to put all costs of what it would, what was needed to do it, which was a full-time staff member, the labor for the employees, which could have been time and a half, and maybe even double time because it's a Sunday, and they've already worked all week, and we were short-staffed. So all those figures were just kind of worked out. Now, they were last minute, and so after the board here voted for one Sunday for 4 hours, I sent an email back saying, first of all, I made a mistake. A full-time staff member, I quoted at 38. It's really 35 by statute.
$627.
So I sent some adjusted numbers. I think it was like 36 and a half or something like that.
We did that.
So,
So 35,000 of it is for a full-time staff member.
okay, do you recall what the actual needed amount is currently? Because it was a little bit more than the 627.
I think it was the full-time staff member, 35,000.
No. What we're actually asking for now that we know that the.
Oh, you're saying if you don't approve the 35,000 for the staff member, what would be left over? I think it's $150 for the voting technician, and I think it's $1,402 in labor and training and other services. So I think it's like a total of $1,602.
Okay, 1602.
Right.
All right, now, Mr. Costin,
Yes, sir.
who would apply for this additional money outside of the 627? Would that be, all right, because we need to keep in mind, as we understand this, this is grant management. This is not this board deciding whether or not there's Sunday voting.
Correct.
This is grant management. I think that's important for the citizens to hear because there's been some misunderstanding that this board is passing Sunday voting. This board is dealing with grant management. It's no different than if the fire department, animal control.
Or any other department.
That's right. If they have to use the county as pass-through or the fiscal agent, then we're required to have that put in front of us. We are not deciding. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are an executive board.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So when an executive board makes a decision, y'all making a decision based on what's best that executive board covers. Now, the Democratic and the Republican Party are responsible for assigning you three who was approved by a judge.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, when you guys made a decision on Sunday voting and it passed, even though it was a split vote, even though it passed, that board decided Sunday voting should move forward, not this board. Is that correct?
That's right. I think the main issue was, and I already gave you all my objections as a citizen to everything.
Correct.
But I'm here as secretary asking for money, which is my duty. The main issue is that Sunday voting wasn't required, so there may have been an argument that the county could maybe not fund it. That's a legal mumbo jumbo right there, just to be honest with you. The board did vote 2-1 to pass Sunday voting. It's a reimbursement grant, and we didn't have the money.
Which board? Can you clarify that?
The electoral board. We didn't have the money in the budget. It's already upside down, needs a lot of fixing already. So we needed initial funding covered by the county before that we could even proceed.
Okay.
So, which included the
Let him amend
grant
it
commitment,
to
so.
add
yeah.
some more.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Go right on.
may I ask just for some additional clarification?
Yes.
So the 62787 grant that we were going to vote whether or not to accept, that's really not the correct amount?
Well, I think that's what the registrar is responsible for filling out the grant once you guys initially committed to funding the initial funds, saying apply for the grant, you know. I think that she put on there what she thinks it covers.
So if may I ask just, if any grant can be amended, if we vote to accept this 62787 grant, once we have voted to accept it, can it be amended to a totally different amount? And we have voted to accept the grant, not understanding what the amount could potentially be?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah.
To go back to Mr. Rourke's question, yes, the grant can be amended. Who would do the amendment would be the originator of the grant, which in this case would be the electoral board as their staffer, the registrar principally. You could actually slightly modify the motion that you have in your packet regarding the 627 to phrase it as I move to decline the early vote expansion and Sunday vote grant award as amended, but not to exceed, and you could set a figure on that if you wanted to.
Okay, because currently they're saying 1602.
That would be what was asked for above the full-time staff member if you're not looking at that, but.
Correct.
That's a total of 1602.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, I don't have it in front of me, you guys might, but yeah.
That was the
I
figure
think
that
that's
I
what
had.
it is.
Yes, sir.
But I would say I do believe the registrar needs a full-time staff member, so we may be looking at that issue rather quickly, yeah.
Okay, so one other thing I want to clarify. 3 weeks ago, my recollection was all 3 electoral board members and the registrar said no one opposes Sunday voting. It just needed some budget items done appropriately. So that tells me that this is going to happen, whether it's now or next year.
I can't speak for them. My position was if it wasn't last minute, we had more time and we had time to put an execution plan, staffing, we had financing already taken care of, that I would definitely be open to it. I'm not against Sunday voting. I would definitely be open to it.
And that's just what I wanted to clarify with the board, because that's what I heard 3 weeks ago, that everybody was saying they're not opposed to it. So that electoral board is going to move forward with it at some point, which will be a cost to the county. This could be a trial run with a reimbursable grant.
Yeah, but this board does not approve or can approve of Sunday voting. That
Correct.
has to be done by the electoral board. We're not getting into a whole discussion on this now.
Any other question?
Thank you, Mr.
No
Did
problem.
that suit you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's in front of the board now is whether or not we accept the 627.87 or amended to another amount. That's what's before the board at this point.
Mr. Chairman, just like to say something. So actually, these numbers have went from 42.68.13 to 627.87 to 1602, and I think these changes from these different numbers really proves Ms. Mitchell's comments tonight. She says we're not ready for this. She's not saying I think what I heard from her, she's not saying whether she's against or for Sunday voting. She's trying to tell us we're not ready. And it sounds like nobody really knows what they want. I mean, it's numbers.
That's not our decision.
Yeah.
Our
Oh, yeah, it
decision-
is. And let's remind you too, Mr. Chairman, grant money is our money.
It is our
Right,
money.
right, that's right.
It's always our money. Grant money is always our money.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. we need to decide whether or not we want to accept the 627.87 that's already been approved, or amend it to another amount. That's before the chair right now. So what is your, Mr. Rourke, Ms. Simmons, Ms. Shackleton? We need to make a decision one way or the other.
Mr. Costin said we could put a limit on what was presented to us in the grant.
Yes, ma'am. You could modify that first proposed motion to accept the early vote expansion and Sunday grant award as amended, but not to exceed, and you could put a figure in there. So that they could go back and amend the grant.
And then from here on, it would be, because we've already done our budget.
For this year.
For
Yes,
this
ma'am.
year.
But they could come in with their other needs in a couple months when
in a
we
couple
start
of
the
months
process.
When we started.
Okay?
Ms. Simmons and Board members, something to consider. What is the date?
It starts tomorrow, early.
No, the Sunday. What is the date of Sunday voting?
Are you allowed to speak? It's the 17th.
No, we're not getting into that. We're not going to get into that tonight.
No, I mean, what is the,
I don't know, we'll have to get that from the electoral board. That's not, we don't decide that.
no, and because the reason why what I'm saying is, now what Steve is speaking on there, if this grant can be amended and we have time to allow them to amend it and send it up to see if the 1602 gets approved, to make sure it's 100% reimbursable, where it's no, well, it's money off the taxpayers either way, but it's not fully, anything that's fully funded coming off the, our general fund.
The issue is whether or not we're going to accept or this amount or amend it to another amount. And I don't see why that's so difficult for us to do.
Well, my only question is, okay, we can accept, I'll move to accept the vote expansion of Sunday vote grant awarded up to $1,603, because it says 1602, correct?
Right.
Okay. So that's the amount for
1603.
$1,603.
Okay.
And encourage the electoral board and its staff to work with the county administrator's office to identify practices that will lessen the impact of non-reimbursable expenses on the county overall budget.
Okay, do I get a second? Is there a second? It dies for lack of a second.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
Do you want to see if there's a vote to?
Mr. Chairman, I move to decline the early vote expansion and Sunday vote grant award of $627.87 as there's a significant difference in award compared to the cost information which we provided and we believe to be necessary to execute Sunday voting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the amount of $627.87.
No, sir.
It was to deny.
No, sir, I did not say that.
It was to
Okay,
deny
it's
the
been
grant,
denied.
not accept the grant.
To not accept it.
That's right.
Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Abstain.
So even the 627.
Does that kill a vote?
Been, okay.
Does that kill it?
I don't know.
You have
I don't know what they have in their budget.
You have a 2-2-1 vote. Well, you do not have a majority. So I believe it's going to die for, it dies. For lack of a majority.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly right. You have something else, comprehensive plan.
You have
You
a,
want to update, Mr. Bourne, could you tell us about that? That's with the CRC.
We have our meeting next Tuesday, Mr. Bond.
No,
On the comprehensive.
the Commonwealth Regional Council is the one working on the comprehensive
Right,
plan.
and they're meeting with us again 6 o'clock before the planning commission.
Okay.
And so I'll have about a report next week.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, new business, we have the resolution of the emergency operation.
yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with the approach and passing of Hurricane Ida, the director of emergency management for Nottoway County, the chairman, Mr. Vaughn, declared a state of emergency. That was in accord with the board's actions in February, that whenever the governor declared that if there were any potential impacts on Nottoway, that Nottoway County would declare. Every declaration of local emergency management, of a local emergency situation by the director has to be endorsed by the governing body at its next regular meeting. You have that resolution before you. And I am recommending that you accept that resolution as presented, and that you also might reconsider your February action. Things are a little different. There are folks now on staff that are a little bit more attuned to emergency management and awareness. There's a lot of interest between a lot of communication going on between the towns, the fire departments, the rescue squad. So I would offer to you another motion to rescind your February action. But your first item that you need to address is to accept the resolution declaring the local emergency.
Okay, question,
I move in accordance with Virginia Code, Section 44-146.21. I move to adopt the resolution declaring a local emergency to have existed in Nottoway County, Virginia on or about September the 1st, 2021, as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's removed and seconded. So we accept the resolution, the emergency resolution. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, Crossroads.
Crossroads? The Crossroads item is, at your last meeting, you voted to withhold, or you voted to participate in the forensics audit at a cost of $4,000 with several other counties. And the result of that is at about the same time, just a few days before that meeting, Ms. Simmons brought in a communication, as a member of that board, Ms. Simmons brought in a communication that they had prepared their budget, and they were looking for us to notify them by September 30th if we had any issues with the budget. If we did not reply by September 30th, they would deem that as a favorable action on their budget. Their budget reflects on page AF11 of their document $42,000 contribution by Nottoway County. That contribution needs to be reduced by $4,000 to offset what we've put into the forensics audit. And we're recommending that we follow in accord with that. You have the motion before you, and I will let you know that Prince Edward County has already taken this action to notify them of their reduction on their budget.
Okay.
Pursuant to Chapter 37.2-5098 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the county administrator notify the Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services that Nottoway intends to withhold funding from our approved fiscal year 2021 to 2022 budget contribution, $42,000 to Crossroads Community Service Board to pay our proportional share of the forensic audit of $4,000 authorized at our August 26, 2021 meeting, and thus does not approve the Crossroads Community Service Board budget presented August 24, 2021.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. That was a long one.
Yeah, it was.
Got another long one coming.
That we approve this motion. Okay.
Mr. Vaughn, I know I will echo this again. I'm very thankful we got Ms. Simmons on that. board.
Yes, yes, yes.
She's keeping us out of trouble here.
Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Tomer will present the the consent calendar.
Okay.
There are 4 items on the consent calendar. The first one is the county's August operational expenditures. The second is a budget adjustment for the sheriff that are insurance proceeds from an accident involving a sheriff's vehicle. The third is a request for a refund of a building permit fee. Other than issuing the building permit, the county offered no support to that. And the fourth is funding for an animal control grant that should have been carried over to the new budget.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question. What was that about the third item you said?
The request for refund? For the building permit? So, a citizen got a building permit to, I believe it was something electrical, and the project didn't move forward as they expected, is my understanding of it. So they're requesting a refund of the building permit fee. The county performed no inspections on this job.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You okay?
No, I'm not. But yes, go ahead.
Were you concerned about the building permit?
I thought I heard something I didn't hear.
Okay.
Move,
I need a motion to approve the consent.
move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Information items. These items are in your packet. Your county administrator update, Mr. You want to do it?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's standard reports, your August 2021 items of interest from the Commonwealth Regional Council. Recently, we have received the final copy of the Fort Pickett Joint Land Use Study. What I've included in your packet is a executive summary. The actual report is about yay thick, and if you'd like to see it, we have it in the office. I will be providing a copy of that, though, when I meet next week with the folks at the CRC for incorporation into the comprehensive plan. And then some additional information, just general information that I thought you would be interested in on the Elected Officials Guide to Emergencies and Disasters. It's a publication done by the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. And then your final item is the sales tax receipts. And also your report from the Nottoway County. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I've moved into some of the other additional items. I'm sorry, informational items. And your final one is your Nottoway County Board minutes and update. I'd be happy to take any questions you have on those items.
Any questions?
So,
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I got is I think it's vital that we could offer and repeat something that is going on with the library, that they offer some new resources. If you look on L5, they're talking about, and this is very brief, Nottoway County Public Library is pleased to announce the launch of 3 different online services provided by the Library of Virginia. The first one is Brain Fuse Job Now, which is designed to support every step of the job search process. So anyone who is struggling with reading or never have been able to do an application of sorts before, they now have that. It's including resumes, cover letter preparation, preparing them for job interviews. And the Vet Now is an incredible resource for veterans of the armed services. The site includes a veteran navigator to enable you to learn about Virginia benefits, community resources, job coaching, and to aid your transition into civilian life. And then the third one is the learners of all age also have access to Help Now, and that's an online tutoring service offering individual academic assistance in core subjects, a 24/7 writing lab, practice test for skill building, and more. It's very important for the citizens to know that that's now available. Thank you.
else? Okay, the chairman will now entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, my report, I do want to bring out a couple of things in my report.
Okay, go right.
The sheriff and I have spent more time together than I think we would probably care to because of the Fort Pickett situation. But we've also met in looking at the radio system in some repairs, some quick fixes. We still await a report from the members of the Roanoke radio cache that came in and did a fairly extensive grounding study. There are some things that we might be able to do very quickly to secure that site until more long-term improvements are made. Looking ahead, I will be discussing with you later this evening the status of the hiring of a Planning and Economic Development Director. But at the present time, I would like to bring forward the permission to establish an employee recognition program where we recognize our new employees and we recognize with some markers, 5, 10, 15, so on and so forth, recognize our county employees. And I've laid out a concept and I would like you all's permission to move forward and develop that and consider implementing that either by the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
I think it's wonderful.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a good retention
Yeah,
tool
it
there,
is.
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can put, looking for a motion
Hey,
tonight?
give a motion,
Yeah.
give him permission to go.
I make a motion that we give the county administrator authority to initiate an employee recognition program that has been presented in our package tonight.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and
Y'all
seconded.
getting along down there?
That we give the county administrator permission to move ahead with the employee recognition program. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. You have it, Mr. Costa.
Thank you very much. The other item I'm going to ask for is that you all set October 14, 2021, 6 p.m. in this location to begin the process of establishing a local emergency planning committee. Hold the date notice has already gone out for that. I'm hoping to a very, very broad list of folks, town managers, the fire department, the rescue, Southside Electric, Dominion, industrial citizens, very, very long, extensive list. This is actually a good start in building up a very workable, well-organized local emergency management program. So I'd like
Okay,
permission
what
to go
time are
ahead.
you talking about?
6 p.m., October 14.
So tonight, you just looking, Mr. Costa, you're just looking for a motion to initiate this, I call it LEPC, is that right?
Well, basically have a work session.
Work
so
session for that,
everybody
yeah.
Everybody can find out about it.
You need a vote on that? You know, I think we just get a census. I think it's a good idea, and by the way, I know that's your strong background with VDM, and I think you're helping us in a slow but methodical way, and I'm content with that. So appreciate that. Good ideas.
Wish I could go a little faster.
Yeah, so, you know, the train has already left the station. We're trying to catch up with it.
You had any question?
No, sir.
Okay, it's okay, October 14th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's good.
Work session.
I may be a little late. I don't get off till 6.
That's my brother's birthday, but he didn't give me none for my birthday. So.
And I'm afraid I have a couple more items that have come in just since putting the memo together. This is a good news, bad news concept.
Do the good news first.
Do the good news
You're
first.
not quitting, are you?
He wants the good news first. All right. So.
Go with the bad first.
Okay, now I'm happy to say that the application for the funding of broadband has been submitted to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. That's good work by Mr. Anzavino. Some slight adjustments here again, and then it goes back to the grant discussion. You have to be flexible. The Crater District and the CRC did not have the staff capability to prepare the application, and the CRC signed off on allowing Amelia, Nottoway, and Charlotte to work with the West Piedmont Planning District Commission. Letters of support, funding commitment letters, and responses specific to Nottoway County have been prepared. and submit it to West Piedmont. Again, that application has already been submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development. A decision by the state is expected in late December. The total amount of the proposed project is $159.8 million. Nottoway's share is estimated to be $1.1 million. And the build-out of the project is estimated to take 18 to 36 months from the notice to proceed. So it's going to be a long-term project, but that's where we are. That's the good news.
And can I make a comment with that, Mr. Costin? The trouble, I mean, and I'm thankful that we're heading in that direction, and I appreciate the, I know Mr. Rourke over there on the other end, that was one of your, one of the things that you want to get done for the county and get, but you know, that broadband and expanding, that thing is hard to measure. You know, so that's the only thing that concerns me. You know, you put money into something, but every time we put money into something, I like to see a product. You know, but how do we measure that? And that's something that you know, you hopefully you hear citizens say, "Hey, I can actually get on the internet now," something. But I'm concerned about that a little bit on the measurement. You know.
Hopefully at the end of it, they'll tell us at least 1,089 homes were hooked up.
Right. So, but I just want the board to be aware that we just don't want to. You know, it's easy to just put money in something that you don't see anything out of it, and you assume stuff, you know. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Costa.
Thank you, sir. All right, now for the bad news. And it's not too bad, but I do need to point out to you that during one of my meetings with, as I've been trying to go around and meet folks and talk to folks, the retiring director of the Department of Social Services advised me that the lease on their offices expires next month. They will be making their last payment in September, and then the lease expires. What I am intending to do is get with the folks that manage the property negotiations. You're probably familiar with this, Mr. Bowen, and begin see if we could just get to a point of amending the current lease to go on a month-to-month in a good faith effort as we enter into negotiations for long-term. But we've got to do something, and this will probably this will come back to you in some way, shape, or form next month. But I wanted to let you know that that was out there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's all I have, unless you all have any questions for me.
Okay. The chair will now entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman.
Closed session.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rourke, if we may, we've got a longer version. We had to add a couple of things. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Knock it
sir,
out.
Mr. Chairman, I move to enter closed session pursuant to Code of Virginia Section 2.23711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, to discuss candidates for the position of Planning and Economic Development Director. Sections 2.2-311A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. In 2.2-3711A29, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specific to the animal shelter. In Section 2.2-3711A7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation now pending relating to a recent zoning determination and public records and record retention.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we go into closed session, citing the codes that Ms. Shackleton said. I'm not going to repeat all of them. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that each member of the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. Only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors, and no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those-
You need to do a roll call. You need to do a roll call.
Okay, I'll get you to do the roll call.
All right. Mr. Bowen?
I didn't discuss anything else. No.
Ms. Shackleton?
I did not discuss anything else.
Mr. Rourke?
I did not discuss anything else.
Ms. Simmons?
I did not discuss anything else.
Chairman Vaughn?
I did not discuss anything else.
So certified.
Okay? All right, will you?
For the motion. Mr. Chairman, recognizing that the county is in need of a new animal control facility which better meets the criteria established by the state veterinarian and Virginia Department of Agriculture and Community Services standards, that a citizen has come forward and offered the county a site for a new facility, and that the proposed site has been the subject of a study authorized by the CARES Group as well as an independent study carried out on behalf of the board by RRMM and Shelter Planners of America. Confirming the site is a site which best meets shelter standards, I move that the county move forward with acceptance of the site offered by John M. Boswell in a letter dated September 9th, 2021 with the following conditions. Completion of both a Phase 1 environmental assessment and a geotechnical study confirming site suitability and determining that no conditions adverse to the county exist that would significantly add to the cost of construction or prevent construction from occurring. Written confirmation of adequate zoning and utility availability, water and sewer, from the town of Burkeville, and a review of the existing deed and property covenants presented by Mr. Boswell by the county attorney and adjustments, if necessary, being made to the covenants which are satisfactory to Mr. Boswell and the Board of Supervisors of Nottaway County.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. And then we go with the motion. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. I did not make the motion because you had already read it, so.
Correct.
Yeah, it was in the motion.
And then there's a second motion as well.
Yeah.
Mr.
Lynn made the motion, Helen seconded the motion, then we voted on it.
And then she has another motion.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors authorize the county administrator to procure engineering services under the Commonwealth Regional Council's Cooperative Procurement Program for completion of a Phase 1 environmental assessment on property owned by John M. Boswell and identified as Nottaway Tax Map Parcel 17-3-1, and to execute a letter agreement with RRMM dated August 20th, 2021 for comprehensive design services for a new animal control facility with the condition that should the proposed site from John M. Boswell, currently under consideration, not be suitable as determined in Task 2 of the proposed scope of services, that the agreement will be terminated at that time.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we execute this agreement, read by Mrs. Shackleton. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Now,
If you have that concludes your business, Mr. Chairman.
I think it comments
we'll now have comments from members of the board. We'll start with you, John. Let's be short-winded.
Well, first of all, Mr. Costin, I want to thank you for putting the county's flag out, seeing to that that got done. It's a small, minute thing, but I think it's a wonderful thing, and I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Yes, I would like to tell the board about a beautiful venue in Burkeville. Steve, look at it.
I'm listening.
It's called Dogwood Vineyard.
Oh.
And it's a beautiful place up there where you can have weddings and receptions and all sorts of things. I would love for you all to go and visit sometime. Have to make an appointment for you to go, but would love for you all to go up there and visit.
Okay, I'd like to take my time to thank Mr. John Anzavino, because he did a lot of the work on this animal shelter project.
Yes, he did.
And we'd like to thank him. Those are my comments. Nan?
Yes, sir, I'd just like to reiterate thanks to Mr. Anzavino for his work on this project as well.
Okay, Steve?
Well, since we're in the thanking mode, so I'd like to thank the sheriff and our Commonwealth Attorney, Leanne. You know, what you did to reach out to Fort Pickett was very proactive, and it really helps the citizens know that you're out there and concerned about their safety. And Mr. Hill, you did a fantastic thing tonight. You need to come back to our board. He prays better than I do, but you know, he prayed for these refugees, and we need to do that. And we appreciate. It really struck my heart today when you mentioned that. So anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
The board will now entertain a motion to adjourn, because we have another meeting that we're going to have right after this meeting, the economic development, LRA. Okay, you have anything you?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, I just wanted to let the board know that, and I'm only telling this publicly because they released it, Mr. E.B. Fisher is once again battling cancer. Let's send the prayers out to him.
Thank you.
Okay. EB has done a wonderful job over the years.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Working with the emergency squad.
I'll make a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Okay,
Second.
it's removed and seconded that we adjourn. Can't oppose it one way or the other. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Do you want to take a break or keep going?
Let's move on.